Welcome to Inside Sim Racing, hope you're doing well. Today's video will focus on viewer feedback from our Forza Motorsport 7 review in progress video. First off, I'd like to thank those people that were trying to be helpful in the comments section, trying to help me fix my technical problems and issues I had with the AI. Unfortunately, all those suggestions I had already tried prior to the video. For example, people were telling me to turn native resolution on, native resolution off, try different resolutions, VSync on, VSync off, 60 frames, 30 frames, unlimited. I tried all those. Maybe I wasn't very clear about that, but I tried every possible solution in that area, even the dynamic options. I was not at the time getting any noticeable difference between any of them. So, unfortunately, at the time, nothing seemed to really work well. 60 frames with VSync on, actually, for me, I noticed lag with the controls. Some people aren't as sensitive to that, that's fine. I just, whenever VSync's on in a game, I can usually tell it's very, unless it's really smooth, it's a very odd sensation for me. So I always run with VSync off, and then I also usually don't have a frame cap on it. My monitor's 144 Hertz, so usually there's no frame cap necessary. The final suggestion was, well, it was more of a comment that the AI I'm running against is terrible because the friends list I have is terrible at racing. They crash into each other, so then I get AI that's going to crash into me. That's a terrible idea. That means it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They crash into me, which causes me to crash into other people, and it's just a huge cycle that repeats. And if there's no way to break that cycle with some sort of setting, then you're just going to get crashing all the time no matter what you do. Fact of the matter is, the AI is broken. It's not good. It just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. If you want an example of something that does good AI in a similar idea, VRC Pro, that's Virtual RC Pro, actually does something similar where they take your replay and then make it available to download, and you can pick your skill level to run with, and then it dumps all these AI cars in there, which are actually other people's replay. And then what you do on top of that is, or what the actual AI does is, it adjusts so that it doesn't crash into you and crash into the other AI on the track. It actually works really well. It's really a fun idea, and I wish that would be implemented somewhere, but this Drivatar thing, you might as well throw it out in the trash. Alright, first comment / question. Very fast. Then please call it First Look Review. Did you check the game with the new patch which was released 3 hours ago? So this was yesterday. So the first part, a first look review doesn't make sense. First look to me means you've played like an hour, maybe two, and it's your initial thoughts. I put over 20 hours into it so far. That's not a first look. That's not a first impression, and you can't have a first look review. A review is either in progress, which is what this was, or it's final. That's because you've tested a multitude of areas within the game and you have a good idea about what the essence of the game is. The only reason I was not calling it an actual final review is because there were aspects that I could not get to yet. To your actual question, yes, I did do some driving with the new patch. The only significant change I found was when I went from an unlimited frame rate to a 60 frames per second option. It seemed to run smoother in the middle of the race. I was not getting the stuttering that I was having. Using VSync, I still noticed lag, but there is just a 60 frames per second option in there. And while I was getting frames stuttering at the very beginning and the very end of the race, in the middle of the race, it was nice, clean, and crisp, and I wasn't getting any sort of oddities or issues. Still getting some stuttering in cutscene scenes and loading scenes, so I don't know how much it's changed for everybody else. Did the reviewer use simulation or normal steering? What force feedback settings? Then the comment, I'm really struggling to get the force feedback and driving to feel right. The last time these elements felt good were in Forza Motorsport 4 and Forza Horizon 2. So, to your first question, simulation or normal steering, I forgot, I kind of assumed that these things are known. I was using simulation, not normal on the steering. Now, when it went and tried the gamepad, I did use normal steering on the gamepad, which is kind of the difference between the two. My force feedback settings aren't that great, I'll show them now. it just does okay. It kind of gives you the idea. I think you're not going to, quote unquote, get it to feel right. I think you can get it passable, but I don't think you're going to find anything amazing and make you feel like, especially Forza Motorsport 4, I just feel like the game was just different then. And the last question, so can you choose your starting grid position or is it random? And then the comment, I remember in the past you always started like in 10th, it was frustrating. Unfortunately, it is the same scenario. You do not get to pick your starting grid and there is no qualifying. It drops you in a predetermined position. It seemed to be 10th to about 14th for me. I'm assuming that's because every once in a while I would switch to Pro and not Unbeatable. But usually when I was running Unbeatable, I was around 14th if I remember right on the starting grid. So yeah, that's how it is. They're not going to change that, and that's where I kind of go back into judging the game for what it's trying to be, not what we want it to be. That would homogenize everything. Everything would end up being the same, and that's not an ideal scenario anyway. Would I like qualifying? Absolutely, that would be great. But that's not going to happen. That's not the identity of Forza Motorsport, so it is what it is. They're going to drop you on the grid in the same spot.
Hey guys, John here, and wanted to jump in on this follow-up and give my 2 cents to Forza Motorsport 7. Once we got the game, I ended up going out of town, so I didn't have enough time with the game to really give my impressions. Going back in time for me, kind of like how Billy did, the first Forza title I played was Forza Motorsport 6, actually. I hadn't played the previous ones, played a couple years ago, and for the most part I did really enjoy it. It was kind of fun to jump back into a more career mode style, with the gameplay. I hadn't done that since, God, Gran Turismo 4 was the last time I had done that, so it was a fun throwback to go back and do that. Now, fast forward to 7 here, the game looks better. The game is gorgeous. I mean, I have to say, Forza Motorsport 7 might be the prettiest racing game out there. I mean, I really lean towards clean graphics, like iRacing and Race Room does, things like that. And there's some kind of, play here with post-processing type stuff with Forza Motorsport 7, but it isn't much and it doesn't bother me, and I think the game looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous, and also it's awesome that it's on the PC. It's cross-play compatible between Xbox and PC, and just it being on the PC allows so many more people to drive who don't own an Xbox. Besides that, it's kind of the same game where there are some cars that drive pretty entertainingly, at the very least. The old Formula cars from the 60s I enjoy driving. Some of the older muscle cars like Billy noted in the review, I enjoyed those in Forza Motorsport 6. I still enjoy them here. And then even, I know Billy struggled with the GT cars. I drove the Bentley at Bathurst, and I actually thought it felt pretty decent there. But with that said, there's plenty of other cars you drive, and it's just kind of the same old stuff where you go into the corner, and even if it's a rear-wheel drive car, you do this like 4-wheel push into the corner, and the understeer default setting on the wheel feels awful. I turned down to 30% originally, and now I'm at the point just turning completely off. And I think that's really doing you a favor because the wheel is kind of, just kind of dies on you when you get into understeer. So you get that where you can't drive cars as hard as I feel like you should. You have to like really back off, or sometimes you run the risk of getting this snap oversteer going into the corner. So again, that's not really any different, but it's a lot more frustrating now. And other frustrations that are carryovers from 6, the transmission. If you want to go and run a full manual, you have to use the clutch even if you're driving something like an Indy car. Now the delay, if you just power through with the paddle, isn't as bad as what it used to be, but it's still like there. It's still annoying, and I really hate that it doesn't like change for cars that don't have 3 pedals on the floor. And then also, if you start a race and you mess up, you want to restart, you can't just restart it. Like, shoots you back out onto the waiting menu on pit road before you have to go and then jump back into a race instead of just restarting and just doing a normal restart. So, and it's just interesting because I was thinking about it, and I enjoyed Forza Motorsport 6. 7 is kind of in the same range. There's some things I think that have gotten kind of more annoying, and some things a little better, graphics, stuff like that. Car handling about the same, but like, my enjoyment levels are really off, and I just kind of think it comes down to we're in 2017 now, and all the other racing titles have gotten so much better. Even if you're talking something that's not quite as hardcore, like you said, this is a simcade. It doesn't have to be a simulator. We're not looking for it to be the most realistic game out there. We want it to be, like Billy said in the review, want it to be enjoyable. When you go out there and you get these cars that just do some really funky stuff, and then you got some of these other little ancillary things around the driving that are frustrating. It just kind of leads to frustrating experience. When you play a bunch of hours, especially when you're doing these reviews over and over, and you get in these races, and you get in the same situation of AI messing up your race after race after race, it gets really frustrating. And that's kind of where that stuff stems from. Yeah, Forza Motorsport 7, this is an odd one. It's a little something I was kind of expecting. I drove it at E3, and I was kind of like, it kind of just truck, and it was just very numb, and I was like, I don't know about this. And everyone wanted to hear, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And it's kind of like, I don't know. Feels like more of the same. And then we heard very little prior to release, and it was kind of like, okay, what are we getting besides pretty graphics? And it's out now, and we got pretty graphics. It looks fantastic. Outside of that, there's just a lot that isn't really compelling me to continue on Forza Motorsport 7 like I did with 6, even past our review and coverage of it. Hopefully it will get better, but yeah, for now it's a pass for me.
Alright, that's going to do it for this video. I first want to thank everybody for watching the Forza Motorsport 7 review and progress video, and thank you for commenting and leaving questions. Hopefully I answered a few that were worth something here, and it gave you a little more clarity where I was coming from, and some aspects I kind of glossed over in that review and progress. For all the latest in sim racing news, hit up isrtv.com. I've been Strange, you guys have been great, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I will catch you in the next video.